There are towns in America where the setting sun doesn't just bring night, it brings danger. For Black travelers and residents, some communities still carry the chilling legacy of signs that once read, "Don't let the sun set on you here." While those signs may be gone, the unspoken rules and attitudes linger, casting a shadow over the progress we'd all like to believe exists. Welcome to 10 shocking sundown towns that still exist today in America, where we uncover the uncomfortable truths of modern racism hidden in plain sight. These towns, steeped in a history of exclusion and discrimination, remind us that the fight for civil rights is far from over. From eerie encounters to unsettling whispers of systemic racism, we'll explore how the past continues to echo in these communities. The stories you're about to hear will leave you shocked, angered, and questioning how this is still a reality in modern-day America. So, if you're ready to uncover the hidden history of racism, join us on this eye-opening journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, and stay tuned to the end to see how far-reaching this problem is. Number 10. Anna, Illinois. Let's start our countdown with Anna, Illinois, a town whose name supposedly doubles as an acronym for Ain't No Nooks Allowed. Now, if you're thinking, that can't possibly be true, I have bad news. Locals don't exactly shy away from this dark little joke. Charming, isn't it? If there were an Olympic event for tone-deaf humor, Anna might take gold. While the offensive signs are long gone, the town's overwhelmingly white population, we're talking over 95%, and lingering reputation make it clear that the spirit of exclusion is alive and well. If history had a Yelp page, Anna's would be riddled with one-star reviews for its long-standing hostility toward Black residents and visitors. And no, this isn't ancient history we're talking about. This town is still raising eyebrows in recent years. Take 2013, for instance. A Black teenager was viciously attacked by 4 white men in a parking lot. Reports suggest one even attempted to use a tire iron or axe handle to assault him further. Justice? Well, that took a rain check. Despite one attacker admitting it was racially motivated, hate crime charges were conveniently left off the menu. It's like the justice system in Anna was channeling its inner ghosting energy. And don't think the town has exactly rushed to atone for its past. Activists who've tried to bring awareness to Anna's history often face pushback, as if saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't glorify exclusion, is just too much for the town to handle. If you're wondering how Anna remains so stuck in its ways, you're not alone. It's a place where time seems frozen somewhere in the 1950s, and progress gets stuck like gum on a shoe. Number 9. Vidor, Texas. Next on our list is Vidor, Texas, a town whose reputation is as infamous as Texas barbecue is famous, though for all the wrong reasons. If you're Black and even thinking about passing through, odds are someone has already leaned in, lowered their voice, and said, don't. Vidor's history reads like the plot of a disturbing horror movie. For decades, it was a known hub for the Ku Klux Klan, and while it's 2025 now, the vibes here still feel more Jim Crow era than progressive modern day. How bad are we talking? In 2022, a Black trucker delivering a load to Vidor was greeted by Confederate flags waving like they were on sale, a Black doll hanging from a tree wrapped in, you guessed it, a Confederate flag, and a security guard whispering, you need to get out of here before sunset. Not exactly your Southern hospitality postcard moment, right? To add insult to injury, when the trucker asked why the police weren't dealing with these obvious signs of hostility, he was told they turn a blind eye. It's like they took the see no evil approach, but only when it's inconvenient. And it's not just visitors. Black residents brave enough to move in have faced everything from threats to full-blown harassment. In 1993, a court-ordered desegregation of Vidor's public housing drew national attention, and not the good kind. The Klan even marched in protest, while local church leaders countered with their own rally. 4 Black families moved in, only to face so much harassment and bomb threats that they eventually packed up and left. Vidor may boast almost 10,000 residents today, but 94.7% of them are white. Progress in this town is about as slow as dial-up internet. Number 8. Kerman, California. Kerman, California, where the sunny skies and endless fields of fresh produce might lull you into thinking it's just another quaint farming town. But peel back the cheery exterior, and you'll find a place with a history as bitter as unripe lemons. For decades, Kerman has been notorious for its exclusionary practices, and even today, its reputation remains firmly stuck in the past. With a black population of just 0.43%, yes, less than half of 1%, this isn't exactly the poster town for diversity. The vibe here? Let's just say it feels more like a forced smile at a family reunion than a genuine welcome. And unfortunately, the town's uncomfortable history seems to persist in more ways than one. In 2023, musician Corey Danieli vanished in Kerman under circumstances so suspicious they might as well have been scribbled into the script of a crime drama. Corey, a black man, was last seen leaving a house in Kerman on his birthday, only to disappear without a trace. The key suspect? A friend who mysteriously relocated to Hawaii shortly after the incident. Talk about suspicious. Who moves to a tropical paradise in the middle of an investigation? Despite mounting evidence and growing pressure from Corey's family, the case has gone cold faster than leftovers in a broken microwave. The lack of urgency from local authorities and the eerie indifference of the community have left more questions than answers. Kerman's history as a sundown town may not include literal signs anymore, but its actions, or lack thereof, speak volumes. For a place so rich in agriculture, you'd think they'd have a little more interest in cultivating decency and accountability. Number 7. Cullman, Alabama. Welcome to Cullman, Alabama, a town where Southern hospitality comes with a heaping side of historical baggage. Back in the day, Cullman was proudly advertised as a place with no blacks and no Indians, which is about as welcoming as a snake at a picnic. Fast forward to today, and while the official signs are gone, the unspoken rules still linger like the smell of stale barbecue. Take, for example, the real estate agent who visited Cullman in 2023. Upon arriving, his white colleagues were greeted warmly, while his presence elicited a hearty, "Y'all brought a black fella?" from a local resident. Yes, folks, that's how you take Southern charm and turn it into Southern harm. And if that wasn't uncomfortable enough, the woman later referred to herself as dangerous when the agent extended a hand to steady her. Talk about a warm welcome. The demographics don't do Cullman any favors either. The population is overwhelmingly white, with less than 1% identifying as black. Despite some demographic shifts, the town's culture remains deeply rooted in exclusion. Even the younger generation hasn't managed to completely shake off the past. In 2021, a video surfaced showing a local high school student shouting racial slurs, followed by a gleeful cry of "white power." The school district claimed their hands were tied because the incident happened off campus. So basically, racism got a slap on the wrist and a free pass to graduation. If you're thinking, surely things are getting better, think again. Many black travelers still describe Cullman as a place to avoid after dark, especially for overnight stays. It's a stark reminder that progress here moves slower than a tractor in a parade. So, while Cullman's history might not be front and center, it's clear the shadows of its sundown past still loom large. Number 6. Vienna, Illinois. Vienna, Illinois isn't just a small town, it's a small town with a big problem. For decades, Vienna has held on to its reputation as a sundown town like a dog clinging to a bone. And while the town might like to think it's moved on from its troubled past, the facts suggest otherwise. Spoiler alert, Vienna's history is less quaint Americana and more terrifying Netflix documentary. Let's rewind to 1957, the year when Elvis was topping the charts, and Vienna was burning down black homes. After a racially charged accusation, white residents took it upon themselves to drive out the town's small black population. The flames may have died down, but the legacy of exclusion burned its way into Vienna's culture. Fast forward to 2020, and you'd think the town would be trying to redeem itself. Instead, local high school students formed a Snapchat group called "We Hate Black People." Yup, this wasn't the 1960s, this was 2020. While protests against racism sparked nationwide movements, some folks in Vienna apparently decided it was time to double down on intolerance. Local protests called for accountability, but counter-protesters showed up waving Confederate flags, making it clear that not everyone was on board with progress. Today, Vienna remains overwhelmingly white, and Black residents describe feeling like they're under a spotlight in the grocery store, if they venture into town at all. Even Black truck drivers know to avoid stopping here, which tells you everything you need to know about the welcome they can expect. While some residents insist racism isn't an issue, citing Black caregivers or childhood friends, the town's history and its recent incidents paint a different picture. Vienna isn't just stuck in the past, it seems determined to stay there. Stick around, this countdown is only getting more unsettling. If this video has you shaking your head or clenching your fists, you're not alone. Stories like these are a stark reminder of why it's so important to keep these conversations going. If you're finding this countdown eye-opening, take a second to hit that like button. It really helps more people see this important content. And don't forget to subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian for more deep dives into hidden histories and modern-day realities. Let's shine a light on these stories together, because awareness is the first step toward change. Number 5. Martinsville, Indiana. Martinsville, Indiana. A town where the past isn't just haunting, it's practically waving a Confederate flag and shouting, "We're still here." This place has earned its spot on the list as a sundown town where Black residents and visitors alike tread lightly, and for good reason. Let's dive into the chilling history and equally troubling present of this Midwest town. Back in 1968, Carol Jenkins, a 20-year-old Black woman, was simply doing her job selling encyclopedias door-to-door when she was brutally murdered by a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Her death wasn't just tragic. It was a grim reminder that Martinsville wasn't exactly rolling out the welcome mat for people of color. It took over 30 years to convict her killer, as if justice had decided to take the scenic route. Fast forward to 2011, and Martinsville was once again in the spotlight for, you guessed it, KKK activity. A local man was caught distributing Klan newspapers to businesses, and while he was slapped with a littering charge, the case was dismissed because, apparently, hate propaganda qualifies as freedom of the press. Progress, right? Black students from nearby Indiana University often have no choice but to pass through Martinsville, and many report feeling unsafe. Imagine being a college student trying to focus on exams but having to plan your route to avoid a town that feels stuck in a Twilight Zone episode about racism. Even today, the sight of Confederate flags isn't uncommon, a subtle, or not so subtle, reminder that Martinsville's ghosts haven't exactly moved on. For a town with such a dark legacy, Martinsville hasn't done much to rewrite its story. The lingering sense of hostility makes it clear. This is one place where time may have marched on, but progress stayed behind. Number 4. Harrison, Arkansas. Welcome to Harrison, Arkansas, a town that on the surface looks like a picturesque postcard from the Ozarks. But peel back the layers of this seemingly serene community, and you'll quickly find it's less "wish you were here" and more "wish you'd keep driving." Harrison is infamous for its deep ties to the Ku Klux Klan, a reputation that clings to the town like humidity in August. For years, Harrison has been trying to rebrand itself as a family-friendly destination, but let's just say it's a tough sell. Despite the PR campaigns and community efforts, a drive through town can still feel like stepping back in time, and not in a charming vintage way. Confederate flags remain a common sight, casually fluttering in the wind like relics of an era that should have stayed buried. And if that wasn't enough, billboards advertising white nationalist groups have been spotted in recent years, making it clear that some locals are holding on to history with a death grip. The numbers don't help Harrison's case either. With a population that's 96% white and less than 1% Black, it's fair to say the town isn't exactly a melting pot. For Black travelers, the phrase Southern hospitality takes on a whole new meaning here, and not a pleasant one. Stories of visitors feeling unwelcome are about as common as sweet tea at a barbecue. In fairness, there are residents actively working to change Harrison's reputation, but let's be real. It's a Herculean task. When you're battling decades of entrenched racism, a community bake sale and a diversity day just aren't going to cut it. So if you're passing through Harrison, maybe skip the sightseeing and stick to the highway. Because while the Ozarks might be breathtaking, Harrison's history is anything but, and trust me, this list is only getting more intense. Stay tuned. Number 3. Darien, Georgia. Welcome to Darien, Georgia, a town that looks like a southern postcard come to life, complete with charming historic sites, picturesque waterways, and oh yeah, a deeply uncomfortable racial history. This is a place where the past isn't just lingering in the background, it's sitting on the front porch with a cold sweet tea, pretending it's minding its own business. Darien has a long history of segregation, and while some might argue that history is in the past, the present hasn't exactly been winning diversity awards. The population is overwhelmingly white, and black visitors often describe a palpable sense of being watched. Like you've walked into a party where everyone knows each other and no one invited you. Locals will happily take your money if you're passing through to enjoy the area's attractions, but don't expect the same enthusiasm if you decide to stick around after sunset. Think of it like being at a restaurant where the waiter is all smiles until you ask for dessert, and suddenly they're clearing your table. Darien's uncomfortable reputation isn't just anecdotal either. Racial tensions here have bubbled beneath the surface for decades, and stories of exclusion persist to this day. Visitors and even residents of color often describe an unspoken rule. You're tolerated, but only up to a point. It's the kind of place where the phrase, "bless your heart," can sound less like kindness and more like a veiled warning. To be fair, not everyone in Darien is stuck in the past. There are efforts to move the community forward, but let's just say, progress is moving at the pace of molasses in January. If you're planning a visit, enjoy the scenic views and historic charm, but maybe head back to your hotel before the sun sets. Number 2. Elwood, Indiana. Sliding into second place is Elwood, Indiana, a town where time seems to stand still, and not in the charming, step back into history kind of way. Instead, Elwood's reputation for being a sundown town feels like a relic stubbornly clinging to relevance, much to the frustration of those who believe in progress. Nestled in the heart of the Midwest, Elwood looks like the kind of place you'd stop for a slice of pie at a roadside diner. But if you're black, you might think twice before lingering. This town's sundown legacy is less of a shadow and more of a neon sign flashing "not welcome here." The history is chilling. Elwood was one of several Indiana towns notorious for explicitly banning black residents after dark. While those policies have been removed from the books, the social climate suggests they might as well still be there. And when we say Elwood has been slow to change, we mean molasses in winter slow. In 2020, the town's population was over 96% white, which speaks volumes about how diverse it really is. Black travelers often report feeling out of place, stared at, or outright unwelcomed, like walking into a dinner party where everyone stops talking the second you arrive. What's more unsettling is that Elwood doesn't seem particularly interested in addressing its reputation. There's been little public acknowledgement of its sundown history and even less effort to reconcile it. It's the classic, if we ignore it, maybe it'll go away approach, which, spoiler alert, never works. So, if you're traveling through Indiana and think Elwood might make a quaint pit stop, consider pushing through to the next exit. Because while the Midwest might be known for its hospitality, Elwood missed the memo. Number 1. Goshen, Indiana. And here we are at the top of the list. Goshen, Indiana, a town where the past isn't just a memory, it's practically enshrined in local tradition. Known for its charming Amish culture, picturesque landscapes, and deeply unsettling sundown legacy, Goshen is proof that not all progress is created equal. On paper, Goshen might seem like an idyllic small town, but for black residents and visitors, it's more like walking into a time capsule of racial exclusion. Despite a growing population and attempts to diversify, the unspoken rules here remain as noticeable as an elephant in a tiny room. Black residents often report feeling unwelcome, stared at, or outright ignored, a sentiment that echoes the town's troubling history. What's particularly jarring is how Goshen seems to embody a paradox. The town loves to boast about its community values, yet its racial demographics tell a very different story. With a population that's over 90% white, it's clear the town hasn't exactly embraced multiculturalism. It's like Goshen is playing a game of spot the diversity and consistently losing. And let's talk about change, or the lack thereof. Despite efforts to address its sundown reputation, progress in Goshen moves at the speed of a turtle in a snowstorm. For every small step forward, there seem to be two lingering reminders of its discriminatory past. Whether it's Confederate flags displayed in nearby areas or the chilly reception black travelers receive, the message is clear. The welcome mat is not for everyone. Goshen might market itself as the Maple City, but its sundown history leaves a sour aftertaste. It's a sobering reminder that even in 2025, some communities are still struggling to reckon with their past. These stories are more than history lessons. They're wake-up calls. If this video opened your eyes, don't let the conversation stop here. Like, share, and subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian for more thought-provoking content. Together, we can keep shining a light on the issues that matter. Let's make change happen, one story at a time.